All right, welcome in everybody to our session for our virtual college exploration for all Ohio students. We'll give it about 60 seconds or so to let everyone get settled. And then we'll go ahead and get started with some table setting items as well once we let everyone get settled in. So hang on just for a minute and then we'll get started. All right, as I said before, welcome in everybody to our session. This is one of our sessions for our virtual college exploration for all Ohio students, and it's sponsored by OACAC and Strive Scans. So thank you again for attending. A couple quick housekeeping items before we hand it over to our Bellarmine presenter will be that your camera and microphone are off, and it keeps everything nice and clean, keeps everything focused on the presentation, so there's no way to actively ask questions verbally. The best way to ask questions will be through the Q&A feature. So if you do have questions at any point in time, even if the presenter hasn't stopped for questions, feel free to type those in, and then the presenters will get to those questions as they see fit through the presentation. So type that in the Q&A feature. And then a couple other things to keep in mind, that this session is being recorded. So you can go back and review this information on demand and other sessions on demand at oacac.org. And you can sign up for more sessions through other colleges and universities at oacac.org as well. And with that, I will turn it over to our presenters and enjoy.
Hi, yes. So my name is Malcolm Jones, and I am one of the undergraduate admission counselors for Bellarmine University in Louisville, Kentucky. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. One sec, and I'll pull up this PowerPoint. All right. So you're probably asking if you don't know where Bellarmine University is. We are located in Louisville, Kentucky, about 5 minutes from downtown Louisville, and we are a smaller private liberal arts Catholic college. And we're also Division I in the NCAA. So if you're into athletics or if you want to be a student athlete, please reach out to me just to make sure I can answer all those questions for you ahead of time. But first, and hopefully you leave this presentation with a little bit more information, maybe stuff you didn't know about Bellarmine, maybe some interesting facts you found out, or maybe you just had a good time with me talking to you. So I know it's a little bit unconventional that we're all virtual this year, but we definitely wanted to make sure that you heard from me and if you had any questions on top of that. But I'll kind of get started a little bit. And so with this presentation, I talk a lot. And if you have any questions, again, you can use that Q&A feature. And I'll kind of just run through the application process. I'll run through a different, like the logistics that happen at Bellarmine in regards to student engagement, in regards to those interpersonal connections, in regards to a lot of those strategic priorities that we hold so highly when it comes to our students and our faculty and staff as well. So kind of just getting started off. This is my contact information, and I am your area rep. So if you need anything, that's my email. My email is mjones3@bellarmine.edu. And my phone number is 502-807-0780. So that is my cell phone number. You can just text me with your name or call me. Just leave a voicemail if I do not answer, a brief one with your name and what you're calling for, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And I'll come back to the screen a little bit at the end just so you can take a screenshot, or you can just write my info down as well. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started here. So one, I just want to say welcome. Just thank you for showing up today. And we are definitely here at campus. We're always excited to meet and talk with new students and new families and look at their college journey and how we can improve that going forward with everything that we do. So you'll see the pineapple a lot at Bellarmine. It's on our crest, and it means hospitality. And so we always want to make sure that you're comfortable, you feel accepted. Just even talking with people from Bellarmine, you feel like you can really thrive in this in the atmosphere, and we can feel like that you really have a voice on campus. That is our biggest thing that we always like to promote. But really quick, kind of going into the application process for Bellarmine University, you can complete us through the Common App or bellarmine.edu/apply now. So I know a lot of my students, they complete our application through the Common App. We do not require an essay, but you can submit an essay if you do like. I always highly suggest it, especially since a lot of your application is reflected for your institutional aid, and I'll get more into that a little bit later. But we don't require an essay, but a lot of students will submit one just so we can know them more personable and just kind of know if there's any big life changes that have taken place, or if they just want to share an essay that they feel really reflects them and is really highly, that there's really highly of them as well. So you can do that, or you can apply through bellarmine.edu/apply now. So there is no application fee at all. So the application fee is waived for all students. So that's something you do not have to worry about. And yes, and so for our required materials, we just need your high school transcript and a letter of recommendation. So when I say high school transcript, pretty simple. If you've gone to the same high school for all 4 years, or if you've been homeschooled for all 4 years, then you're already set to go. Let's say you've moved high schools, you've gone from private to public, or you've gone from homeschool to a public school or private school, or let's say you have dual credit courses, or you have college courses that you've taken through your high school, any AP or honors courses, making sure that all of that gets consolidated into one transcript and then it gets sent to Bellarmine. So that is the easiest way to go about that. Going down to the letter of recommendation, we just need one letter of rec. This can come from a teacher, it can come from a counselor, it can come from anybody at your school that works at your school that knows you well academically and knows you well extracurricular wise. And so this is, I get a lot of questions about the letter of rec. So I always like to always make it crystal clear and specify it. We just need one letter of rec. You can send in as many letters of recs as you want to from a lot of different sources, but as long as we just have one from directly from your school, just verifying your application, that's all we need. Going on down to the bottom, we are a test optional school. So when you hear test optional, I know a lot of schools are using that language right now. We have been test optional since the beginning of the summer, for the foreseeable future as well. And so this basically just means that you will not be required to submit an ACT or an SAT test score. So I get a lot of questions again about test optional. So I always like to tell people and my students that let's say you're filling out your application, okay? And you feel that you do not have, let's say, a very, very strong ACT or SAT test score, or it's just average, or you just don't feel like it reflects you in the way that you want it to reflect you, but you have a very, very strong and a very, very good GPA, then my best advice would always be to go test optional, because a lot of that will come down to your GPA, your courses, and the activities that you've done in school. But let's say on the flip end, you have a very, very, very strong ACT or SAT test score, but maybe you have just an average GPA. I would already go ahead and tell you my best advice would be to submit both of those as well. And so that, trust me, and just whatever feels that reflects you the best way possible or can add to your application in any way, that's always my best route to go, and that's always my best advice. Again, my biggest thing is communication. So I'm your representative for Bellarmine. So I'm really fun. I'm really easy to talk to. So please just really reach out to me if you have any of those pressing questions, if you need advice on what to submit, if you need help in your application, or just advice for the course structure of the major that you're about to go into, or if you just want just an ear to talk to. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now and in our own country. And so my biggest thing is just making sure that students feel like that they can have a place to go, that they feel like if they have any questions for a lot of the college processes in general, that I'm able to be a tool to help them in that regard. So also just please let me know. I know it's a lot right now, but we always try to want to make the best out of a bad situation, or out of a melancholy situation, I guess. And so just going on from that. So we'll go on from the application process. Kind of getting a little bit more into the meat of the presentation. But one of the biggest things that we see that Bellarmine students really thrive at Bellarmine is because we are a smaller, closer knit community. So, but with a big Division I NCAA feel. So there's, with that, there's so many clubs and activities, and I'll get to that a little bit later, but we are a closer knit community. We're nestled right in the Highlands in Louisville, Kentucky. And so if you've never been to Louisville, Kentucky, you have to visit. The food is amazing here. And there's a lot of great sights and sounds. It's really, really beautiful in Kentucky. I don't say that about a lot of states, but since I've been living here for a very, very long time, I can attest to that. So Louisville is known for one of the best food places in the country. There's literally a restaurant literally every block, around every corner. There's always a small mom and pop restaurant. So we are nestled in the Highlands in Louisville. And so the Highlands, it's a very eclectic neighborhood. So if you think of a Hallmark Channel, or you think of some movie that has these really crazy neighborhoods where they look really fun to walk on with all these different shops and these different eateries and bakeries and pizza places, and just really different housing and just a lot of different things that go on in the Highlands. That's what the Highlands is. So it's so hard to describe it because it's such a unique part of Louisville. That's what definitely makes Bellarmine such a unique school. But going on with that, because we are a little bit of a smaller, close-knit community, our student class size is about 20 students per class. So that's probably a lot smaller than what some of your high school courses are like. So we always want to make sure that students have that hands-on approach. They make those interpersonal connections with their peers and their professors, and they have those one-on-one times with their professors in helping to ensure that they understand the material that they're reading, that they're studying, and building off of that, because that is one of the basis of your higher education. And so I always want to make that clear, is that when students come in, when you look for a major, when you look for that career path, to look for something that really intrigues you, to look for something that you can learn more into, to look for something that will ultimately make you a better person. I work with a lot of people, and oftentimes I see a lot of students who want to go into majors that they just hear that there's a larger paycheck involved, or there are better benefits, which I understand, I really do. But I always want to make sure that students go into the right major, and they go into a major that fits them, and they go into a major that they can be successful in. That is my biggest thing. And so the faculty and the staff, they just have done wonders with making sure that students get on that right path, with making sure that students have an idea or have something that they want to pursue or have a passion. It's always the best part about my job is just talking with all of you and talking with these students, and just finding a path to success, and finding a path to internships, and finding a path to graduation. That is the ultimate goal. So with that, we have about 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. About 85% of our faculty, they are the top in their fields when they come teach at Bellarmine. So you are getting such a wide variety of knowledge from these individuals who have been in their career paths for majority of their lives. So they are really, really smart people. I'm pretty sure a lot of schools have said that, but just take into account what Malcolm says. But they are really knowledgeable people, and they always want to make sure they have their students' best interests at heart. They always have open door policies. They are always there for the students. Take it from a staff member, I talk to them on a daily basis. I'm very connected with them, and I always tell my students, if you come to visit, if you're interested in a particular major, if you want to do something with that major, if you want to like check out our gross anatomy lab or do a simulation lab tour or look at the different partnerships that we do offer to all of our students, to make sure to go online. Bellarmine.edu, and you can actually look at your major, you can look at that department and actually really dig into the faculty that's in that department and look at the success stories that have come out of that. It makes such a difference just to walk on campus or do a virtual visit or talk with somebody at admissions or talk with me as well, just to get a better understanding of what you're going into and a better understanding of what came out of your major and what you would like to do with your major. That's the ultimate goal. But yeah, so we will keep chugging along here, definitely. So one of the biggest aspects of being a Bellarmine student is that we offer so much with our study abroad program. It's definitely a big guarantee. About 25% of our students study abroad each year. That's a really big chunk of students. And so we want to make sure that those resources are accessible for them. And we want to make sure that the experiences they're experiencing in these different study abroad programs, that they're experiencing a positive one, and they're experiencing growth, and they're experiencing becoming a more well-rounded individual. You can easily go online, bellarmine.edu/study abroad, and you can actually click on each continent where we have study abroad programs. We have about 150 programs around the world in every continent except for Antarctica, because it's just Antarctica, let's be real. when we have a program on that continent, I will be sure to be the first one to let you all know. But we have programs in every continent of the, like in the globe, on the globe, excuse me, I can't talk today, on the globe. And we want to make sure those courses are available to you. So just go online, bellarmine.edu/study abroad, and clicking on each continent and looking at the courses that are applicable to your major, looking at the time frame of those courses. A lot of people always assume that study abroad is either a whole year or a whole summer or a whole semester. It doesn't have to be. Everybody always assumes it's like the Lizzie McGuire movie, if you've seen that movie. But it does not have to be like that. We have numerous courses that are several days, that are several weeks at a time, or a couple weeks, or even just 1 week at a time. So there are a whole bunch of different options to look at. There's a lot of unique experiences that come out of it. There's a lot of more knowledgeable facts that come out of it. Because you're interacting with people who are a little bit different than you, who have different cultures, who have different values, who have different governing systems, who have a different language. So there can be a language barrier there. But I've seen with even the faculty and staff and the students who have come back from these trips have such a more well-rounded view of the world, and so many different opportunities that they can pursue after coming back from these study abroad locations. And even with two of my counselors, Logan, who's also an admission counselor, he went to Dublin, Ireland over the summer when he was a senior at Bellarmine, and he actually did a marketing internship in Dublin. So he still talks about it to this day. I'm like, Logan, we get it. we get it. But if that's a testament. Also, another counselor of mine, Emily Newhouser, she actually did a study abroad program for a week this past February, the beginning of February, and she actually went to Cuba for a week. So, and she still talks about it in her graduate program. So there are different courses where you can take in your undergrad and you can take also in graduate school here at Bellarmine. So there's a lot of different things to look at. Like for me, I'm getting my master's at Bellarmine right now. So that's always something that's in the back of my head. I have never gotten a chance to go out the country. I know right now it's a little bit more strained, but usually sooner or later when ports and when countries start opening back up into next year, then that's always something that I'm looking at, and it's always something that we're evaluating, and we're looking at close restrictions, and we always want to make sure the safety and health of everyone is at the top priority. That's definitely something personally that I have always been looking at, because I've never been out the country, sadly. But if you are looking into study abroad, I highly, highly suggest it. It's such a game changer, and it's such a worldview changer as well, because there is a world out there outside of the United States, and it is a diverse world. And we always want to make sure that when we do graduate students from Bellarmine, they're well-rounded, they're some of the top in their fields, and they have these different experiences they can lean on and they can reference to, because they were able to do those experiences. So again, bellarmine.edu/study abroad, I would highly look into it. But going on along here, if you have not been to Louisville, if you have not heard of Louisville, we've been in the news recently, but this is downtown Louisville, Kentucky. Very, very pretty site. I love Louisville. It's definitely my home city. I travel a lot, so whenever I come back, it always feels like home to me in such a way. But if you don't remember anything else Malcolm says this presentation, just remember that Malcolm says that internships are one of the keys to success. They're one of the keys to getting those great careers or getting a career in your field. And they're one of the keys to successful networking, are internships. We offer so many different internships, so many different partnerships, and so many different organizations and companies that look at us for their new employees when they do hire them. Most of our majors at Bellarmine actually require an internship. And so that is something that is really marketable to a lot of different employers that we do look at in and around the city, in and around the states, and nationally as well. And so we're always looking at our geographical reach, and we're always trying to make those different connections when we go along those routes. With that, let's say I always pick on nursing. Nursing is the major that a lot of students tend to go into. But for example, in our nursing major, they have a little bit of a more accelerated major. And so they'll come in their freshman year, and they'll do all of their prerequisites, usually their university studies courses, and some of their prereqs for their nursing program. And then usually by their sophomore year, they're already starting clinicals. So it's a little bit of a faster process, but with that, our nurses, they graduate at such high rates. They have a higher NCLEX score than the national average. And so that's something that I always am inspired by, because our nursing majors work extremely, extremely hard at what they do. And usually by the beginning of their senior year, they already have a job lined up. And so with that, I will say that 99% of our students at Bellarmine as a whole, when they do graduate, 99% of them end up having a full-time job or going to grad school. So that's a very high statistic, but we work so hard in making sure that students have those resources and those tools necessary for them to succeed, and for them to look at different job prospects and to network around the nation, really, and looking at these different organizations that do tend to hire a lot of Bellarmine graduate students. And so when our students go into these majors, they're some of the top in their field in their major, because they've graduated with such high accolades every single year. I also will say that 91% of that 91% of students that do graduate from Bellarmine end up going into a career that's in their field of study. And that is key. And so I go back to my first part in saying that look at majoring or getting a degree in something ultimately that you like, ultimately that you got your undergrad degree in, because a lot of people are in jobs where they just do not like them. And I'm always a big proponent of if you do something that you like, or you're doing a job that you like, then you're never really working. And I'm always a big proponent of that. If you enjoy it, if you're doing really well at it, there's always a way. If there's a will, there's a way. And so just looking at the different partnerships that we do have, for example, in Louisville, Kentucky, if you've heard of Norton Healthcare, it's one of the big metropolitan hospital systems in the state of Kentucky. So that is a healthcare system that we do partner with, that Bellarmine partners with. And so a lot of our students who, let's say, are in nursing, who are in exercise science, who are in the doctorate for physical therapy, who are in our medical lab sciences, our pre-med sciences, all of the more science-heavy majors, bio, medical, biomolecular sciences as well. A lot of them will have different internship possibilities through Norton that soon go through the University of Louisville Hospital, that go through Baptist East Hospital as well. So there's a lot of different networks and channels. And the cool thing about these hospitals is usually they'll, especially with Norton, they'll have a program to where a lot of nursing students will do their clinicals at Norton, and they'll do, let's say, work study hours or different type of hours at Norton, and Norton will actually pay for a portion of their schooling. And so usually when they do graduate, they have full-time jobs at these hospitals. Same as our students who start work at University of Louisville Hospital or Baptist East Hospital. There's a lot of different opportunities for you to look into networking and job-wise. And so, like, again, if you remember anything else, I hope you remember that, and just remember that internships are key anywhere you go. Honestly, internships will help seal a lot of deals for you. So that is just a little tidbit from me. But going on, I know I've been talking a lot about the logistics, kind of the breakdown of Bellarmine, and probably a little bit more of the boring stuff, which I don't find it boring, but so you're probably thinking, Malcolm, cool. But what else goes on in Bellarmine? Like, what is the student life like? What is the atmosphere like? Well, I'm not a student there. Well, actually, I'm a student. I'm in my master's program, so I'm not an undergraduate student. But I will say that we have over 100 student organizations or student clubs on campus. And so you can go online at bellarmine.edu/engage, and you can actually look at the different organizations and the different programming and student engagement opportunities that we do have with all of our students on campus. So this picture right here, it's always a funny picture, but that big fat head that you see, that is our fearless leader, our president, Dr. Susan Donovan, and she has been such a light in so many instances. I know you have probably heard about the social injustice or the social unrest that has been going on in our city of Louisville with a lot of different cases, and we've been put on a national spotlight with a lot of different instances that have happened. And so our president, and I always choke up a little bit because it's a little emotional, but our president has definitely been such a light in the situation, and she's been so understanding, and she has been such a catalyst for movement in and around the city of Louisville and the state of Kentucky. And she's taken steps with the faculty and staff to address a lot of the injustices that are going on right now. And she is making it clear that her voice and our voices need to be heard in a lot of situations. And she is always that one person to stick up for the underdog, or to stick up for things that may just not seem that right at the moment. And she's always a catalyst for change, and she's done many wonderful things at Bellarmine. That's why the students made a fat head of her at football games and basketball games, just basketball games. But that is one of our biggest prides and joys, that her leadership empowers so many students, empowers so many faculty and staff, and anyone around the Bellarmine community and in Louisville to be that voice for change and to stand up for things, and to look at things in a different lens, and to evaluate them, and to make things better. That is the biggest thing that she brings to Bellarmine, is just that aspect and that air of making sure that, yes, things are a little bit different and they have been a little bit on the end, but she always wants to make sure at the end of the day, we come back around full circle and we make it an even better experience than it was before. So I'll get off my little tangent about her, but going along that with our student activities, there is so much to do just in Bellarmine and through the city of Louisville, and doing so much within our community and also around the state. So we are, if you're into athletics, we are Division I in the NCAA. So that is something that we are excited about. And we have 21 athletic sports on campus. So we have a very big athletic pool. Again, kind of a quick tidbit, going back to that application process, we do not require an ACT or SAT test score for admission into Bellarmine. But let's say if you do want to become a student athlete at Bellarmine, then the NCAA still does require some type of test score from you. That's why I say if you're into athletics, please contact me as soon as possible. If you are applying to Bellarmine and you want to be on an athletic sport or a team, just making sure you're in contact with me so I can get you the right contacts and I can get you the right application and go from there. But yes, so our sports teams, all Division I. Again, if you're interested, I keep saying it if you're interested, but I've had a lot of students who have been interested in athletics the past 2 years that have gone through me. And so just making sure that process is as easy, as smooth as possible. But yes, there's even things to do in the community. A lot of our students will do volunteer work. A lot of them will work in different shelters around the city. A lot of them will work in different organizations around the city, different partnerships that we do have. There's a lot of different activities that go on campus. And I know right now a lot of places are virtual. A lot of places are socially distanced. So that is something that we really took into account and we really looked into, especially for this year and going up through next year and the years to follow. It'll be more of a smoother transition. But even with this year, we still have all of our activities going on. We're having in-person tours as well. They are a little bit more restricted. There are about 2 families per tour, but I think right now we just bumped that up to about 4 families per tour. And so we have very large spaces that we'll be in with masks and socially distanced opportunities. So I'm a very big proponent on always visit anywhere before you enroll, before you do anything with that school, really, because you will not know what that school is like until you actually step on their campus, until you actually talk with people who are working there or going to school there or have different connections there. So our visits are open right now. I highly suggest going on them because they can fill up really, really fast. But because we are a little bit more restricted in our sizes, but we have 4 tours a day, every single day. In each one of those tours, I'll be there is sure to be a spot. If not, we can always add a later date for you as well. But that's the biggest thing, is to just come on campus. You can see the different activities that we do with our students. Every single activity that we do, we also have a virtual aspect to it. So every single activity, we live stream it, or we do a virtual share option, or we go through Zoom or Microsoft Teams, just to make sure that the students who do not feel comfortable, or the students who are opting for all online courses, still get that same experience and still get the same opportunities that every student on campus does. And so I'm a big proponent of communication. Like I said before, all you gotta do is communicate with the faculty and the staff and your peers, and trust me, it will be 10 times easier. Doesn't matter if you're behind a screen, if you're in another country, if you're in another state. Communication is always one of those keys that makes everything so much easier. And so our activities, there's a lot going on campus right now. There's a lot of different organizations and groups you can be involved with. Again, bellarmine.edu/engage, and you can actually get a breakdown of our calendar and kind of the different events that are happening on literally each day of the week. Whether they're outside, they're in big mess halls or recreational rooms, they're in large lecture halls as well. We try to utilize every single space on campus as much as we can, just to help with those social distancing aspects, and to help with making sure that every student is comfortable, every person on campus is comfortable as well. Especially when you do come on a tour on campus, you'll see a little bit of a change. There is literally hand sanitizer stations every single corner of each building, every single hallway. So we always want to make sure that we're being healthy at the same time. There are a lot of precautions put into place. Also, when you do come on tour, you get to ride one of our trolleys. And so we have our own Bellarmine trolley, and you get to actually ride it through a little bit of the Highlands area. You can go down that road where it's really, really busy. So you'll see a lot of stuff going on. But you actually get to ride through the residential community and the more touristy part of Louisville. And you can kind of see what goes on. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, all of the colleges I visited in undergrad, I never ever got an experience like that. I'd never gotten a trolley, or I never got to go have the university take me around the city. So that's just another cool aspect that I always like highlighting. So, but yes, definitely, we have so many organizations, so many student activities to get involved in. I always will say to my students, at least get involved in one thing on campus. It will make such a difference. It will boost your mood, it'll boost your energy. You will network with different people. You'll become friends with different people. You'll have lifelong friendships because of that. And it's better than just staying in your dorm room every single day, because you'll get homesick and you won't perform as well. So just making sure that you come out of that room every now and then, you get involved in at least one activity on campus, and you go from there. You never know where these activities can lead you in regards to your personal life or your career life or even your college journey. There's so many things to do. The world is your oyster. And so we always want to make sure that we emphasize that, and that you have everything you need on campus. But going along, some of the next steps that come about in kind of the whole process. October 1st is when the FAFSA goes live. That's when the FAFSA went live, excuse me. So that is the free application for federal student aid. And so basically that is just your financial aid. That's everything that you put into the FAFSA website, and they usually send, you get federal grants out of it. You get different grants and a lot of different financial aid that comes out of that as well. So every college student usually, majority of college students usually do the FAFSA. I have done it. So it takes about 30 or 40 minutes. It's a little bit lengthy. And I know it's a long time for a lot of people. I understand, but just making sure you just knock that out as soon as you can. Sit down with your parent, your guardian, and you'll usually be a dependent. A lot of your parents will know what that means because they will need to input their information. So it takes about 30 or 40 minutes, just sitting down and knocking that out as much as you can. The earlier is always better, because comprehensive packages, your full package of all the monies, all the scholarships and grants that you will receive will usually come out of that, or will be determining factor of your FAFSA. So that's an important note to take. That's an important note. Yes, there we go. November 15th is our early action deadline. And so that is coming up in about 2.5 weeks, I believe. And so that is our deadline for everyone who wants to have a decision back to them by then. So I already have a lot of applications right now that are turned into me. And so just making sure that when you have, if you want your decision back early, I always say earlier is always better than later. That way you can go ahead and make a decision, and you can ask those questions and go ahead and get your comprehensive package and your institutional award back to you as well. So that early action deadline is November 15th. December 1st is our Bellarmine Scholar and our Bellarmine Fellow application deadline. So that is the deadline that you have when it comes to submitting something. You have up until that date. So Bellarmine Scholar Scholarship, that is our full tuition scholarship. So that is a full tuition, a full room and board, and a study abroad stipend. Our Bellarmine Fellow Scholarship, that is a full tuition and a study abroad stipend on top of that. So they're both amazing, amazing scholarships. I highly recommend applying for them. You can just go online and you can look at the application process. It does require an essay and a resume for that application, and usually a test score. So with the exception of this year, with the peculiar atmosphere that this year has been in, we understand that the ACT and SAT have not been available to quite a few students, a lot of students, because of COVID and because of everything else going on, especially inside. So we are making these scholarships in particular just for this year, going into next year. So the 2021, the incoming class of 2021, we are making these scholarships test optional. So like I said before, with test optional, what that means is that you will not be required to submit an ACT or SAT test score for this application. So they will still review your application holistically, but let's say if you do have a test score that you feel that really shows who you are and is a really great test score in your eyes, then I would say to go ahead and submit that as well. Again, if you do not have, let's say if you have a test score that is not as great, and maybe your application is a better indication of who you are as an individual, then I would say to just go ahead and omit the test score and just do this application as test optional. So test optional can be a little tricky for some people, and I always want everybody to have a clear understanding of what test optional for Bellarmine actually really means. So if you have any questions about that or any concerns or any issues with it, please reach out to me, and I will make sure to get that squared away with you, and have some more conversations about what you should submit and the different mechanisms in that sense. So going on, our housing application goes live December 1st. And so that is the housing on campus. Okay, so we have 8 residential halls. We have a lot of residential halls on campus. So that's why I say it's always a good thing to come visit, because there's so much to see on campus and there's so much to do. But we have a lot of residential halls, about 8. And you can look at the different housing opportunities. And December 1st is when the housing application opens up. So that will go live December 1st. So you will just go online, you will look at the different housing opportunities that there is, you'll look at the different learning communities that you want to be in, and kind of just go from there usually. So the housing application is more of a phased application. So you will look more into your roommate selection later on into the process, and more into your learning communities and the different exterior things that come out of that housing application. So like I will say, these are usually, the housing application in particular is just a priority basis one. So you probably know what that means. So seniors usually get first pick, then juniors, then sophomores, and then first year freshmen get usually the last pick. But I will say that to do these as early as you can, especially housing, and if you're doing courses, if you're registering for courses in class and registering for housing, these are the 2 things that will go the fastest in any college that you go to, because everybody needs them. Everybody's trying to get into something that they need to get into. So that is where our housing application stands. So February 1st is our regular decision day. That is just our decision where we will have most of our decisions out by then, or we will have most of your decisions out by then as well. May 1st is more of a hard date. So that is the date where we would like to have all our decisions back by then. You'll probably be hearing a lot more from me. Those are for my procrastinators out there. They're for my people who have flip-flops. So let's say they've told me they're not coming, now they do want to come, or they still have FAFSA things they need to wrap up, or they have been verification for FAFSA, which is a whole other deal, or they have different instances where they need to discuss stuff with me, or they're just still not sure. So that is the date, usually where we like to have everything set and done, just because right after that, we go straight into orientation, we go straight into enrollment, and we go straight into academic advising. So that is definitely one of the bigger days to look at. Again, please take pictures of the screen if you need to. Yes, we will keep going. We'll keep chugging along to some of the financial aspects of Bellarmine. So you may hear that if you hear that it's a private school one, or it's a private Catholic school, or even if it's a private Catholic college, there's always this instance that, or these rumors that that just private colleges, or just Bellarmine, or just private Catholic schools in general are just extremely, extremely expensive. And there's rumors like, oh, I'm not smart enough, or I can't get in, or I can't afford it. But the great thing about Bellarmine truly is that we give 100% of our students academic scholarships. So every single student that you see on campus, every single undergraduate student that you do see on campus, they will receive an institutional award. And so that's why I say your application is extremely important, especially if you're doing test optional, because everything you put on your application is going to be reflected in your institutional award. So that means your GPA, that means the courses you've taken, that means the activities that you've been involved with, if it was part-time sports, if it was band or choir, if it was different clubs at your school, or orchestra, I can't leave out orchestra, or if it's different instances that come along to that. I think my screen just left on accident. I'm sorry about that, y'all. One sec. But different instances that come with that as well. And Addison, if you just let me know when my time is coming up. Again, your institutional award will go into that. That's usually about $28,000. So your average comprehensive award is about $39,000. The average one is, and so that $28,000 is what you will. That average of a $28,000 or your institutional award is what you will get on your acceptance packet when you get that in the mail. So that comes up right on there when you get it, and that's reflective of everything that you have. So that comprehensive award is reflective of your financial aid, your FAFSA, and everything that comes along with your financial aid. So you take our tuition minus the comprehensive award, you get your out-of-pocket costs. That cost can vary. So that's why I tell you when you're looking at your application that you're talking with me, your counselor, and you're getting all of that stuff pulled in. So trying to wrap up here at the end, but Public Price Promise program is what we just offered the past 2 months. We just started here on campus. And so it is essentially a price matching system for the flagship university of your state. So since you are Ohio, your flagship university is Ohio State. So let's say you apply to Ohio State, you get your total out-of-pocket cost that comes from tuition and comprehensive fees and room and board. We will match that same price of that comprehensive package as well. So there are a few requirements to that. You can just go online, type in the Public Price Promise on our website, and it'll come up with kind of the details of what goes into that as well. But coming along to the end, I just want to say thank you again for your time. Thank you for just having me here. My biggest thing is just making sure that you know what you want to do, you know what Bellarmine is as an entity, as a college, and that you get a chance to visit and actually view Bellarmine as that. And so my biggest thing is just visits and just talking with the people that go to those schools. They make a huge difference. But I do want to thank you again. I will lend my screen over back to Addison. And if you have any questions, please put in the Q&A and I'll make sure to answer those for you. But thank you.
All right, thank you, Malcolm. Thank everyone for joining us, or anyone that's watching this on demand at a later time. Just for a quick note, there will be a quick survey when this ends, so be sure to fill that out for us. Your feedback is very much appreciated. And also be sure to check out this recording and other sessions at oacac.org. Thank you all and have a great day.